I guess like the last thing I want to talk about is the other like big sort of tech culture and possibly Cold War related issue is the government forcing a sale of TikTok and then going back on it. And what is the current status of TikTok? Who owns it, and is anyone using it? Where does TikTok stand with the American public as of
So that
January
is
23rd?
a good question. And I think, having lived in America since 2008, I thought I'd seen everything the Democrats could fuck up. But the
This is
TikToks,
truly special. Yeah.
it's like the fact that they got free advertising when TikTok came back being like, thank you, glorious President Trump. You are so beautiful. Thank you for bringing back TikTok. But what's weird is it's not really obvious what's happening. Oracle and the other services holding up TikTok, as in hosting them, those services, like, they are breaking the law right now. Now, will the law be used against them? Who knows? Does the law exist anymore? Not sure. But TikTok is off the app stores because Apple and Google are like, fuck this shit. Like, I don't want to like, they can afford to do that. So TikTok exists in this kind of messy non-world where it's not obvious whether it's going to get sold or not. Mr. Beast and a group of, I hate this fucking Mr. Beast and a group of investors. I really hate talking about this stuff sometimes. It's so fucking sad. He's claiming that he is going to, I actually believe that Mr. Beast is probably the most viable. There's the idea that Elon Musk could buy it. If Elon Musk buys it, by the way, TikTok's dead within a year. Like, it's just it's going to be like X the everything app where it just barely functions and every recommended thing is like Groiper Master 88. But so it isn't obvious what's going to happen. Even if it sells, ByteDance would have to agree to sell it. And I'm not sure how they feel about it. And if it ends up, Trump says it could be owned 50% by the US government. It's just not obvious how they square this circle. And on top of that, it's just not obvious why ByteDance now has realized they have power over this, so they're going to pull some shit. So if it does sell, ByteDance is going to get way more money than they should for it. And it's going to be taken by, if Meta buys it, I've heard that rumor. If Meta buys it, it's also shit, because here's the other problem. The reason TikTok did really well is because it had a really good algorithm that showed you things you like. This is not how modern tech in America works. How dare you try and make a social network that provides content that you want to see? And I'm not saying it's perfect, but like, TikTok did well and scared the shit out of Meta because people like it and they don't like Instagram. And Meta's reaction was, we must kill this immediately. We cannot stop.
As far as the U.S. government goes, I mean, like you said that this was like, as far as malpractice by the Democrats go, this one really takes the cake. Because this started out as a Trump policy that then they grabbed with both hands in time for Trump to campaign against it and get all the credit for saving TikTok.
This was the greatest way to close the Biden administration because every angle they took was like just a perfect disaster. They seized this thing, wrote it out into like total unpopularity, stood with it. We're like, we have to do this. This is a national security threat. This is, the new Cold War. This is like incredibly serious. And then when they finally realized how much they fucked up and how badly they stepped in it, they were like, we know we said it was a national security threat, but we think we should like pause all this because there are like a lot of Americans have jobs as influencers.
Yeah, that was the worst fucking excuse. If you're going to do the thing, do the thing.
You just said it's a national security threat.
It's so cool.
And that's your fucking reason?
It's so cool.
I loved how, like, also that by putting the deadline at January 19th, I think the reason they did that was because they thought that, like, we'll take it away. And that way, if Trump like reverses course, we can accuse him of doing Lev Parnas again.
I think it may even be dumber than that. I think they thought they were going to win, and they were like, well, we'll just reverse this shit when Kamala comes in. That'll be fine. Or, of course, the other thing I was mentioning, they had no fucking plan. They didn't have one. They don't know why they banned this thing. If you looked at any of the things they talked about, they're like, yeah, you got this company there, and they use their data to manipulate people, and they use their algorithm to twist people up and make them pissed off, which we will never accept on American soil unless it's perpetuated by a proud American company. And it was just, you looked at the logic of what they were saying, and it was illogical because politicians don't know how anything in the computer works. And on top of that, I don't even remember them saying that we need to bring this back for influencers. They just vaguely said, yeah, people make their money on TikTok, very clearly not knowing how. Like, just like,
Yeah.
is Mr. Breest on that one? I don't fucking know. Like, is fucking Rebecca Black, is she doing stuff still? Fucking hell. Like, they don't know what's going on. They have no idea.
Yeah, all the responses that I saw, like after they did that, like, thank you, President Trump thing, the incredulous responses from like the Pajans and all the people in like Democratic affiliated media. Can you believe this? They're running an ad for Trump. And it's like, if you were TikTok after all this happened, why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah.
They want to keep their company.
And also, they're probably pissed off at the Democrats for making such a fucking dog and pony show. Like, it's just like you humiliated us, and also you took down the network under the dumbest pretenses. I will say the one thing that really pisses me off about it, though, is on the ByteDance side. They should have just really fought fire with fire and said, Instagram, Facebook does exactly what you're talking about. They literally do it. It's been in the newspaper 100 times. There's so many cases where we can point to them doing the thing. Why is this not a problem here? That would have actually been useful, but no, they weren't going to do that. They just fucking... And also, I'm pretty sure that ByteDance spent hundreds of millions in legal fees. The discovery for this was probably insane. They probably lost a lot of... Well, spent a lot of money on this. They print money, they'll be fine. Nevertheless, it's like, I would... To your point, Felix, yeah, I would absolutely do this. You dunk on them, fuck them. Like...
Yeah, like what are they supposed to do? What are they supposed to put a message out after that where they're like, but by the way, we condemn fascism.
And also Donald Trump was the one that sent the executive order originally. To be fair, everyone, just like a 900 word message at the beginning.
It's baffling because there was every opportunity to like not do this.
Yeah. Like they could have just not done it at all.
And I'm sure there is a political and ideological sort of the angle to this because, like, look, we've seen a lot of people in our government and elsewhere talk about the fear that they have of American youth being radicalized, particularly on the Israel-Palestine issue, because of the algorithm of TikTok that's exposing them to, anti-Israel propaganda. Jonathan Greenblatt, who we mentioned this show, made a statement recently where he said, whether or not Israel can hold Mount Hebron in Syria is not as important of whether we can hold space on TikTok for our next war. Now, I mean, like, I'll take him at his word here, but like, I think it's not so much about any one political issue finding purchase on this platform, rather than it is that it is a major and popular social media destination for American internet users that is not owned and controlled by America.
Yeah, that is completely it. That it is like outside the American sphere of influence.
I think it's that, and then one level, one abstraction, which is also how old Congress and the House are, how disconnected. Like, I'm 38 years old, and generally the people around me have like some tech savviness, but as you get like 5 and 10 year gradations, there is just this, I don't want to say rejection, just a lack of curiosity about how anything works. So all of the people in the government making these calls, they've never opened the fucking app. They don't know how this works. If you watch the Senate hearings with Facebook, these people don't know how any of this shit works. So they're like, well, I don't like Chinese people, and I don't like China. And also the idea of communism in general, I haven't really looked up what that is, but it sounds bad. I remember they were in a war once. I think I was in that war. I'm 70, but I should be in that war. Anyway, China is taking our children's brains and feeding them Palestine, and I don't like it. That is, I really think it might be that simple where, yeah, it's they don't like the idea of something they can't control, but they also have no fucking idea how any of this shit works. If they actually cared, not to loop back too far, they would care about the fact that Facebook barely works, Google barely works, but they're like, no, we must stop the only other competitive social network.
Or if like we are, if we are talking about destroying people's brains in a actual like quantitative sense, Facebook has it has created probably like more insane people than anything. And I don't just mean like making them more conservative. I mean like a guy who may have been like sort of center right, but had some all over the place beliefs 10 years ago. Now they're like, we have to like dig up my grandmother to make sure that she isn't carrying a dagger that contains President Trump's true soul, so we can free him from the Black Lodge.
And because these algorithms are fairly simple on there as well, it's what have you looked at the most? So if you're looking up quasi-racist stuff already, it's like, have you considered this group that's just about stopping Muslims from banning bacon? Which is an actual, I had an ex whose grandmother was looking at Facebook in front of me, and that was just a meme that popped up. It's like, Muslims want to ban bacon. Share and like if you agree. It's like, that was like 2018. It's fucking, like, this is what, like, Facebook has been doing actual damage.
Facebook is like a combination of MK Ultra and Hutu Power Radio for 60-year-olds. It's like just, no one has destroyed more Thanksgivings than Facebook.
Clear the tall leaves from my driveway.
Yeah. And to your point about like people in Congress like just not having any real cognizant explanation of any of this, that is more or less what AOC said when the White House sent people to brief members of Congress on this, that they couldn't really explain why they were doing this. The people that were spearheading the policy.
This is why they're all so pro-AI, because they don't fucking understand They couldn't tell you anything about this shit. And then the business leaders also don't really understand either. So you've just got dickhead versus fuckwit in an arsehole to the death. And it's like, these are the people who are in power. This is the actual consequence. Trying to ban an app, then not banning it, and then bringing it back. But it's not clear what will happen. And why did we do it? We do not know. But it's bad or good.
Well, and and like whether TikTok is good or bad is sort of beside the point, because good or bad, it was popular. People like, as you pointed it out, Ed, people liked it and it was growing, unlike, for instance, the moribund American social media platforms, which are only getting worse. But now we have to force people to like them and keep doing it, whether it's like things that work and people, or forget work or not work, just things that people like and use in their daily life, that has to go away. Whether it's Wikipedia or TikTok, that has to be done away with so that there is only the slop.
Yes, we must have slop in everything. We cannot have good information, because good information stops people using products because they learn things and then want to live their lives. No, more slop.
Just keep scrolling.